Raw. Yes, we're back to wrestling on this page because Monday Night Raw was probably the best they've had by far. By far, in my opinion, one of the best. So, yes, they stepped up the game. Anyways, let's get right into the opening segment. We had Corey Graves out there. We had the challengers for the Universal title in that Fatal 4-Way. First off, before the night started, we had on Twitter the announcement that the Fatal 4-Way was going to be an elimination match. Later on, WWE app announced it too. But anyways, we had the opening segment. We had all four challengers down there. We had Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Big Cass, and KO, Kevin Owens. It was beautiful. It was awesome. You actually saw probably the best, and I've been saying for day one, Enzo and Cass are probably the best mic workers. Well, you got to see some mic work from Cass that I thought was really good. Probably his best. And they're already good mic workers, but I didn't think they could top what they've already done. He threw in some jabs. He even threw at Seth Rollins. By the way, Seth, size does matter. That was kind of funny. You had just different stuff happening. Everybody kind of had their turn to talk. Finally, Seth Rollins tries to turn it on Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns sits up like he's on talk. And probably the best mic work Roman Reigns had, and I'll mention that in a second. And Roman Reigns drops the mic and punches Big Cass, and we start a fight. Roman Reigns kind of came out on top, but the reason this was probably his best work on the mic was because, I'm going to be honest, guys, I like Roman Reigns. I'm a fan, I am. But I think he's one of the worst when it comes to in-ring segments with the microphone. I'm sorry. And last night, he had his best microphone work yet. Held it, dropped it, fought. Keep doing that with Roman Reigns, and I'm going to love it. Anyways, that was leading into the Fatal 4-Way. Had me pumped up. The whole thing had me ready for the Fatal 4-Way. I was excited. So, next up we had Jericho versus Neville. Now, Neville had a match last week, we know, against KO, and I've already given you my opinions on it. I thought it was awesome. We got to see Neville again, and guess what? I'm going to tell you right now, Neville has really put in some work. They're really looking like they're pushing him. Me and my buddy was talking, and he was wondering what titles they may have him go after, or what way they're pushing him. And I honestly think they're pushing him for the Cruiserweight. The Cruiserweight's coming out the 19th, guys. It's going to be there. It's going to be on Raw. Who better to be the first Cruiserweight champion than Neville? It could happen. I think that's where they're pushing him. Great work, though, by Neville in the ring and Jericho together. I thought that was awesome. Jericho wins the match, by the way, but Neville really showed some great work, and I think they might be pushing him. And, with the Cruiserweight division, you're going to get to see Neville more. You're going to get to see some great work out of him. So, next up, we had a backstage segment with Bayley. She's coming through. She's giving everybody hugs. Bayley's a hugger. And you know what? I've been saying from day one, the ratings of Raw had to shoot up as soon as Bayley came. Because there's nothing better than Monday Night Raw with Bayley on it. I'm sorry. I like it. I'm a Bayley fan, as you can tell. And I'm a hugger. No. That was a little creepy. But anyways, Bayley was giving hugs. She runs into New Day. I thought that was a great segment. There's nothing better than Bayley and New Day. Come on. But they go back. They're talking. New Day's acting like they're starstruck. It's beautiful. It's beautiful work. Dana Brooks comes up. Still beautiful work. Dana Brooks is talking about Bayley. And then said that she then threw out the names of Gallows and Anderson. Said that she's gonna go get them. And New Day's like, oh, that's funny. And they set up the club teaming with Dana Brooke to take on New Day and Bayley. Gotta love it, right? Awesome stuff. So that was later on in the night. Next up, we had the best of 7 match. Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped way ahead. Nia Jax in a squash match. You already know who won, but I'm starting to get used to these squash matches a little bit. So I'm gonna do something, because these guys are indie workers that fight against these big name wrestlers. In these squash matches, they're indie workers, and they work in the indies, and they do this for extra money or whatever. But they don't get recognition very often. So I'm gonna go ahead and mention their names, but I'll probably mess this one up. Mayon, I think is. But anyways, yeah, it was a squash match for Nia Jax. So let's move on. Sami Zayn versus Jinder Mahal. Now, I'm a fan of Sami Zayn. There's nothing better than Sami Zayn, New Day, and Bayley on Raw. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm going to keep doing that, by the way. But anyways, Sami Zayn wins the match, but it was a very good match. We also talked about what they might be pushing Sami Zayn for. I'm not ready to really jump in on that. I don't know what way they're going with Sami Zayn's character. But I know that they're most likely going to push him for something. Let's see. Next up, we had New Day and Bayley teaming up against Gallows and Anderson and Dana Brooke. I love this match. I thought that was great. New Day and Bayley win, but it was a very good match back and forth. You had Charlotte over there in the commentators table. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was awesome. I was excited. I was happy. Back and forth stuff. New Day wins. Then they danced at the end, and I was dancing with them. But, yeah. So, then next up we had the best of 7 match. I'm not too keen on these. The last one was pretty good. This one wasn't too bad. This was match number 2 in the series. Sheamus beat Cesaro again. So, Sheamus is up 2-0. 2 matches to none. I'm a sports fan, so I call them games. Next up we had Braun Strowman in a, that's right, you guessed it, squash match. Versus a miracle. He was like American luchador. I liked it. At the end, Braun Strowman pulled off the mask and everything, and yeah, anyone who knows luchador wrestling knows that that's very sacred to a luchador. But I thought it was a very good match. Well, it was not very good, but yeah, I thought it was probably one of the better squash matches, and they're not very good at all because they're usually only lasting a couple minutes. But anyways, next up we had Stephanie in the ring calling out Brock Lesnar. Wanting to apologize, said Brock Lesnar stepped over the line at SummerSlam, which he did. And here comes Paul Heyman. I got to tell you guys, Paul Heyman cuts some great promos. If you don't think Paul Heyman cuts promos, you're an idiot. Plain and simple. Sorry. Paul Heyman cut some good promos. Annoying as heck, but some good promos. Anyways, Paul Heyman gets in the ring. He proceeds to tell her that he's going to pay off Brock Lesnar's whomping $500 fine. Now, doesn't hurt his pocket, it just hurts ours. Anyways, she starts pulling out the money. He starts pulling out the money and counting them by dollars. Stephanie feels insulted. Then they go on to say that Brock Lesnar thinks that she's the true heir of the McMahon fortune in the company and the boardroom. So she said, your apology is accepted, Stephanie. I mean, is that all it takes to kiss up to your butt? Anyways. Yeah. Next up, we had Titus O'Neil versus Darren Young. Darren Young gets the crucifix pin to beat Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil at the end, being the heel that he's becoming, continue to beat up on Bob Backlund and Darren Young. I thought it was a very good segment, very good match. Universal Fatal 4-Way. First, I wanted to just say Big Cass got eliminated first, like I called. I knew that was happening. But later on, there was a very good match back and forth, and then the surprise. This was the shocking moment I've been talking about, and I'm going to do a whole video on that, but this was that shocking moment. Triple H comes down, pedigrees Roman Reigns, throws him in the ring. Seth Rollins gets the win. He takes Kevin Owens, puts him in the ring. He proceeds like he's on drop Kevin Owens, and guess what? He drops Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens gets the win. Kevin Owens is your Universal Champ. He gets out of the ring. He yanks the title out from Mick Foley. Then when he leaves, he stares at Mick Foley. And his wife's like, what's going on? There was a segment afterwards when the cameras went off the air. I saw on Twitter that Seth Rollins is asking what the heck happened. Stephanie goes, I don't know. He called her a liar. I think there's a big storyline coming out of this, of course. But awesome night. Raw, you stepped up your game. SmackDown, you got a task this week. You may not get the guaranteed win like it's been so far. Well, I'm going to get on out of here. Catch you guys later. As always, like, subscribe, comment. Catch you all later. Peace.